For those of you who haven't met me, I'm Will Green. I'm Dr. Patricia's husband. In a previous time of life, I was president of a medical corporation called Alive Tech, and working directly with the National Institute of Health and the Food and Drug Administration. So I have a little bit of background in this area of nutrition. Well, this is the 5th lesson of a series that we started. And you can go back and watch the first one, which was oxygen. The second one was hydration or water. And this is nutrition. And this is the 3 pillars of health: oxygen, water, and nutrition. So today I want to offer you the 17-page script that I have from this video that I'm going to teach you now, because there's no way I'll get through it all. And I thought that when we did the first video on oxygen, I was done with the first video. Then Holy Spirit woke me up and said no, and he gave me a whole download of more information. Well, we got to water, and I thought, well, we've done the water, and Holy Spirit woke me up again and gave me another whole download of information. So this is the 5th, which was originally going to be the 3rd video, and there's no telling where we're going to go with this because Holy Spirit's already downloading lots of information. So this script is available if you just send me a note on my email at the bottom of this, underneath this video. If you want the script, it's voluminous. It's 17 pages of stuff, and it's categorized, but I'll never cover it all. So we're gonna start with a couple words. Saliva is the first word, and the second word is masticate. Well, what happens when we hear about food is on the table, or we see the food on the table, or we smell the food? What happens? Well, what happens is when we smell it, the olfactory nerve that goes directly from our sinuses to our brain, which is the shortest connection to the brain in the body, immediately gets our body producing saliva. We see the food, and the optic nerves, which go directly to the brain behind the eyes, they have us producing more saliva. Well, what is saliva? Well, saliva is lymph cells that are excreted through the mouth, through the glands, and through the coating on the inside of our mouth. And that saliva includes enzymes. So the enzymes help us to digest the food, help us to turn the food into digestible matter, and that is what helps us break it down and masticate it. Well, what is mastication? Well, mastication is grinding and chewing. But before I want to get into that, I want to give you a little hint about the eyes. There's a rule when you're forced to task with your eyes, like I've been doing lots of time on the computer preparing for this. It's called the 20-20-20 rule. And the 20-20 rule is every time that you concentrate on something for 20 minutes, then you need to get 20 feet away for 20 seconds and look at things that are 20 feet away. So when I'm looking at the computer screen for 20 minutes, I take a break and I look at things around the room for 20 minutes, and then I come back and work some more. Anyway, that's what helps the eyes, strengthen the eyes. You know, the eyes are the largest user of oxygen in the body. And when we become oxygen deficient, the first thing that suffers is our vision. And look at me, I'm wearing reading glasses. Well, I would prefer not to do that. So I'm learning things right now that are going to get my eyes better, and one of them is the 20-20-20 rule. If you want to increase your vision, look at things far away, and then you can rotate your eyes in circles and strengthen them. Okay, so that's enough of that. The olfactory nerve in the smell is the first cranial nerve. It's called CN1. It's also part of the autonomic nervous system, which regulates body functions. The nerve enables your sense of smell. Now, if there's something that you don't like the taste of, there's some bitter nutritions that I've taken in the past that are liquid. You put them in your mouth and you almost gag because they're so potent. Well, what you do is you hold your nose and you cut off your sense of smell, and then you swallow them and trace them with something else to get rid of that taste out of your mouth. Well, smell has a lot to do with taste. So we like to taste our food, but if you're not getting enough air in your nasal passages, if you're not getting enough oxygen, you don't taste your food. So I have people, I'm working with people right now that have PTSD, and they've lost their sense of taste. Well, what's the first thing we have to do? We have to get their sense of smell back for them to have taste. So oxygen allows us to taste food and to add saliva to our mouth, because our saliva is an action that places this liquid in our mouth. But the challenge is that when older people don't have enough liquid or water, are not hydrated enough, what do? They get dry mouth. What's dry mouth a sign of? Dry mouth is a sign of lack of hydration. And I mean, it can happen to any one of us. Well, so what is the rule about hydration? Well, we need liquid, we need water in our system, because our blood is 96%. Our blood is a little over 90% water, and so is our lymph fluid. Well, how do we keep that percentage high? We have to drink lots of fluid, and the fluid has to be water-based, because water is hydrogen and oxygen. Our saliva is 99% water. It's 99%, that's a lot, considering that the body is 70% water. The remaining 1% of saliva contains digestive enzymes, uric acid, electrolytes, mucus-forming proteins, and cholesterol. Saliva is really important in digestion. Now, saliva also helps us control our body's water balance. So when our saliva, we get dry mouth, it says to the body, you need water, you need water, you need water. Well, when we get older, and in the winter time especially, because the winter time, the heat in our house dries the atmosphere and makes us even drier. So what happens? We begin to dehydrate. When you dehydrate, what happens? Your face gets all wrinkly, and your arms and your neck gets all wrinkly, and you look like an old prune. Well, how do we fix that? We got to get more hydration. It's interesting that saliva protects our esophagus. Our esophagus is a part of the tube that goes into the stomach. So if we don't have enough saliva, guess what we get? We get sore throats. We get irritated throats. We think, oh, I'm sick, I've got a sore throat. Perhaps you're just low on saliva, and perhaps you just need more water. The DNA in saliva originates from the cells that are shed from the inner linings of the mouth and white blood cells. White blood cells are lymph cells. So what is this thing about mastication? Back in World War II, I had an uncle that was in the Navy. He was in the submarine service. And when some of the POWs were released and brought back to the States from that war in the Pacific with Japan, I heard stories from my uncle about these guys that were captives, and the food was sparse in those prison camps. And so the soldiers learned something. If they masticated their food between 25 and 50 times per bite, they got more nutrition from their food, and they were healthier. And the ones that were like me, I'm more like a wolf. And you see, this teaching has really aimed at me, because I needed this teaching for myself, because I don't masticate enough. I'm like the wolf. I grab a bite and it's gone. I don't give my saliva time to break it down. So mastication is the first step in digestion. Why? Because we masticate and we break the food down into what's called bolus. And what is bolus? Food that has been chewed and mixed in the mouth with saliva. Chewing helps reduce food particles to size readily swallowed. Saliva adds digestive enzymes, water, and mucus that help chemically to reduce food particles, hydrate them for taste, and lubricate them for easy swallowing. That's mastication. Mastication is really important. So I want to be known as the best masticator in my whole family, but I'm not. I'm the gobbler. I'm the wolf. I bite it and swallow it. So since I've started this teaching, and Holy Spirit's been working with me on this for over a week, I'm now conscious of the fact that I don't masticate my food well. So there are 40 different kinds of nutrients in the food that we generally are classified into 7 food groups. So I'm going to start running through those with you. Carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins, minerals, dietary fiber, and water. Now, we hear a lot about these areas of nutrition, and we don't necessarily understand them. What we don't understand, we don't get into our mind. We don't own that. So let's talk about them just a little bit. I want to cover carbohydrates first. They are any large group of organic compounds occurring in foods and living tissues, and including sugars, starch, and cellulose. They contain hydrogen and oxygen in the same ratio as water. What is the ratio of water? The ratio of water is 2 to 1. 2 atoms of hydrogen to 1 atom of oxygen. And typically can be broken down and release energy into the body. So we can break carbohydrates down and we can use them as energy. And various natural compounds of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, such as sugars, starches, and cellulose. So I just want to touch a little bit on sugars. There are 4 basic sugar groups: glucose, fructose, sucrose, and lactose. And what are those? Well, fructose is plant sugar. Glucose is a combination of, well, glucose is the one that we assimilate the best, that gives us the most energy. Sucrose is a combination of glucose and fructose, and we call that refined sugar. And then there's lactose, which is dairy sugars. Now, a lot of people are lactose intolerant because lactose is not easy to digest. Lactose is wonderful for cows. It's not good for people. So what can people drink instead of dairy milk? They can drink goat's milk. Goat's milk is really healthy for humans. Cow's milk is not healthy for humans. And I'm telling you that having grown up on a dairy farm. I learned how to pull teats when I was 5 years old, and I can still squeeze and pull, because I learned that when I was 5. That was 73 years ago, a long time ago. How about starches? You should avoid the following high starch content groups. Pasta. I love pasta. But where does pasta? What is the foundation of pasta? It's wheat. It's wheat. It's gluten, and gluten doesn't digest well for people. A lot of people are gluten intolerant. Well, so I stopped eating white flour almost a year ago, the first of this year. So what do I do in place of it? Well, I went to the store, and I found that if you go to the Asian food section, you can buy rice noodles, and rice noodles are rice and water. That's all they are. And there's no gluten in them. How about potatoes? White potatoes. Are they healthy? They're high starch. Now, we live in a culture that lives on potatoes, but they're high in starch. So would you eat a tobacco leaf? Probably not. Would you eat a tomato leaf? Probably not. Well, potatoes and tomatoes and eggplants and peppers are the same food family as tobacco. And you can take a tobacco plant and you can graft a tomato branch onto it, and you can graft a pepper branch onto it, and you can graft an eggplant onto it, and they'll all grow on that plant because they're the same food family. See, it's not about food families, it's about the food. So I think about hemp. I love hemp. Hemp is one of my favorite foods, hemp seeds. But hemp is the same food family as marijuana. Well, people think hemp is marijuana. It's not. It's just the same food family, the same way tomatoes and potatoes are the same food family as tobacco. White bread, well, I talked about that. White rice and corn. And white rice and corn and potato and white bread, white potatoes and corn are high starch. Now here's one I didn't know, but I understand it now. Bananas are a rich source of carbs, which occur mainly as starch in an unripe banana. But ripe bananas are high in sugar. Well, if you eat a banana and it's not ripe, it's not high in sugar. But if you eat it when it's ripe, guess what? It's full of sugar. How about cellulose? What is cellulose? Cellulose is the insoluble substance which is the main constituent of plant cell walls and vegetable fibers. It's the polysaccharide consisting of chains of glucose monomers. Well, this is the roughage. This is the roughage that we need to put into our colon to clean our colon out. And if you don't eat some roughage, you're going to find yourself constipated. Why do you get constipated? Well, constipation is a problem in the digestive tract because number one, there's not enough liquid, and number two, there's not enough roughage. Now, cellulose is insoluble, which means it can't be. It's not possible to dissolve it. Your body breaks down carbohydrates into glucose. Now, glucose is a sugar. I used to be a drunk years ago, 50 years ago, and I drank 2/5 of liquor a day. I was drinking 2/5 of sugar, glucose every day, and I was living off the alcohol high without having decent nutrition. And it's amazing that Christ saved me and got me out of that lifestyle because I wouldn't be here 50 years later. Glucose, or blood sugar, is the main source of energy for your body's cells, tissues, and organs. Let's talk about something that's high in carbs. How about soft pretzels? They're delicious, but they're poor in nutrition. They're just a poor source of carbohydrates. How about processed cereal? How many people eat cereal? How many people eat cereal with cow's milk? Not good. What can you do replacing cow's milk? Well, you can replace cow's milk with almond milk, or you can replace it with rice milk that aren't bad for your system, and you can still have your cereals, but the cereals are high carbs. Canned fruit. Now, I mean, I have to watch that because I eat a lot of canned fruit. I eat a lot of canned pineapple because pineapple is really good for your digestive system, but it's also high carb when it's canned. How about donuts or soda pop or potato chips or corn chips or gummy candy or French fries? We all love French fries. Now, but French fries are cooked in vegetable oil, and vegetable oil is rancid oil. Now, what am I talking about vegetable oil? Well, in order to make vegetable oil, they heat it to such a high rate that it makes it rancid, and it's not healthy. In fact, we grew up with stuff like Crisco. Oh, Crisco is really unhealthy. Vegetable oils are unhealthy. So what kind of oils do you use? Well, I use olive oil, and safflower oil is a good oil. Coconut oil is a good oil. I don't particularly care for the taste of coconut oil, but it's a healthy oil. Proteins. We haven't talked about proteins yet. Well, proteins are large, complex molecules that play many critical roles in the body. They do most of the work in the cells and are required for the structure, function, regulation of the body's tissues and organs. Every cell in the human body contains protein. The basic structure of protein is a chain of amino acids. You need protein to build muscle. If you don't have enough protein, you don't build muscle. Proteins are organic molecules that are present in every living organism. They serve a wide range of functions, including organization, transportation, and defense. Proteins are composed of amino acid chains, and structures levels are up to 4. There are 7 basic types of proteins: antibodies, contractile proteins, enzymes, hormonal proteins, structural proteins, storage proteins, and transport proteins. What are the best foods for proteins? Well, fish and seafood. Now, we like fish, but we don't eat much fish from the West Coast because of the Fukushima thing. Because a lot of that fish on the West Coast is high in radiation from Fukushima. Skinless white meat turkey, lean beef, and eggs. Share a little bit about meat for men and meat for women. Women do really well with chicken and turkey because most of the time chicken is female. They don't slaughter roosters, they slaughter chickens. But for us guys, because chickens are high in estrogen, it's healthier for us to eat beef because beef is they raise male beef, they raise bulls to slaughter, and the meat that we get from beef fundamentally is high in testosterone. How about fats? Fats are a source of essential fatty acids which the body cannot make itself. So fats are a little bit confusing. What kind of fat's a good fat? What kind of fat's healthy and what kind of fat's not healthy? Because the problem is we strain at gnats and we swallow camels. We strain at little minuscule things and we miss the big picture. Saturated fat, the American Heart Association recommends that saturated fat should be limited to less than 10% of calorie intake. So just as a pattern, we should keep saturated fats below 10%. Now, you think about saturated fats, you think about butter and cheese and dairy and whole eggs. But did you know that olive oil is 14% saturated fat and 86% unsaturated fat? Well, I eat a lot of olive oil. As a matter of fact, I eat a cucumber every day, and I put my cucumbers in olive oil and vinegar. And cucumbers are really good for alkalinity. Now, it's interesting because my wife likes watermelons, and I don't like watermelons, and she doesn't like cucumbers, so we never fight over our food. There are good unsaturated fats, monosaturated and polyunsaturated fats. Unsaturated fats include peanut oil, avocados, nuts such as almonds, hazelnuts, and pecans, and seeds such as pumpkin and sesame seeds. Now, these are monosaturated fat. Polyunsaturated fats are potentially even better than monounsaturated. In one study, replacing foods in high saturated fat with polyunsaturated fat sources reduced the risk of heart disease by 19%. Polyunsaturated fats include sunflower, walnuts, flax seeds, and fish. Now, we hit fish again. What does the master eat a lot of in Israel? He ate a lot of fish. Some examples of foods that contain fats are butter, oil, meats, nuts, fish, and some dairy products. There are two forms. The two forms of pure fat mainly used in cooking are animal fats and plant oils, nuts and seeds. As I told you, I don't eat vegetable oils because they're toxic. I don't eat them. Now, there's a fat that I really like, and it's let me find it here. It's tallow. Tallow is the beef fat from when they slaughter cattle. You take the fat of the beef cattle, and tallow is, it's interesting. When McDonald's started, they used tallow in their French fries, but because it was cheaper to use vegetable fats, they went over to vegetable fats. So a couple of years ago, they did an experiment in a great big McDonald's, and they took one set of fryers and they put tallow in it. They put the other set, they put vegetable fat, the ones they normally use. So when the customers came in that day and they ordered French fries, they got 2 bags of French fries, one with tallow and one with vegetable oil. And guess what the majority of the people liked the best? It was tallow. It tasted better. So I like tallow. How about vitamins? Well, we could talk about vitamins all day long, but I'm really going to not get into a lot of vitamins because they're complicated, and basically A, C, D, E, K, B1, B2, and B3, plus B12. According to nutritionists, there are 7 ingredients a multivitamin should have. It should have vitamin D. Vitamin D helps our body absorb calcium, which is important for bones and health. Magnesium is an essential nutrient, which means that we must get it from our food supplements. That means that we don't produce magnesium. Now, I'm pushing 80, and in the last 5 or 6 years, I started waking up with leg cramps in the middle of the night. Well, what is that a sign of? It could be one of two things. It could be lack of hydration, or it could be lack of magnesium. So I found a company, it's not my company, I found a company that produces a magnesium spray that you spray on your body, and I spray it on my legs every day, and it absorbs magnesium into my muscle structure, and I don't have cramps anymore. So calcium, zinc, iron, folate, and vitamin B12. Every multivitamin should have those 7 different nutrients. There are 13 essential vitamins: A, B, C, D, E, K, and B vitamins, thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, pantothenic acid, biotin, B6, B12, and folate. Now, I've got all this written out in detail, and I'll be glad to give that to you. I'm not going to get into it in detail. And then minerals. Minerals are inorganic elements in the soil and water which are absorbed by plants and consumed by animals. This is one of the things I taught on the water teaching. Minerals have 2 forms. They have plant form and they have rock form. We can't assimilate rocks into our cells, only plants. So plants assimilate the minerals, the rock minerals, and they turn them into plant minerals, and the plant minerals can elongate and squeeze into our cells. So I hope this is a basis for you, and I hope it's not too much, but I want you to have what I'm learning. I want to share with you, and I want you to have everything I've got. I love apprenticeships. I would rather learn with somebody than just learn it in a book, go to some class and just recite things I memorized. So I really think of this as mentoring. I would love to mentor you and take you deeper into health so that you can have the very best health you can have. Because, I don't even ask anybody about health unless they're as healthy or healthier than I am. Because if they're not healthier than I am, they don't know what I know. Well, I want you to be as healthy as I am. I haven't taken one of those pharmaceutical things in my mouth for probably 30 or 40 years. I'm talking about aspirin. I don't do any of that stuff because I learned enough of this stuff so that I learned that I have to have lots of water to produce saliva to digest my food. I learned that I have to masticate my food, which I haven't been good at. I'm the failure. I want you to be better than I am at masticating your food. I want them to say, hey, so-and-so is a better masticator than I am. So anyway, I hope this helps you. Obviously, I'm going to do some more lessons, and the script is available. All you've got to do is drop me a note. Just email me at the bottom of the screen. And if you want the script of oxygen and you want the script of hydration, I'll be glad to send you those also. And listen, God bless you, and just get healthy, would you?